What's up, everybody? I'm Jake Alexander, and today we're going to be talking about the film Electric State, Netflix's most expensive film with a budget of $320 million. How bad can it possibly be? Yeah, how bad can it possibly be? So Netflix has given us a new film based on what a whole lot of people are calling a graphic novel, but it can easily be called an illustrated book. And if you read it and compare it to the film, the book itself is a lot darker than the film, but they still tell the exact same story. So what we have is an alternate version of the 1990s in which a robot uprising leads to a war and the humans crush it. And now all of these robots are sequestered in the American Southwest in this exclusion zone. So what we have is a young woman named Michelle, who is played by Millie Bobby Brown, who has to go into this exclusion zone to look for her brother, who she thought was dead this entire time. Along the way, she winds up having to be helped by this robot named Cosmo, and she also is helped along by a very seedy and a very underhanded tracker and smuggler named Keats, played by Chris Pratt. In time, along the way, they're going to uncover some plot led by Stanley Tucci's character, Ethan Skate. He's the leader of this company, and they create these visual helmets that now everybody is wearing, and they're retreating into themselves and basically not even connecting with each other, but they all live in this virtual reality world. It's pretty much how we're doing it nowadays in real life, right? Now, Electric State is meant to have the themes of family and loss and how we connect as humans with electronics and technology coming between us, and how we lose bits of ourselves along the way by allowing technology to rule over our lives in more and more pervasive ways. And they do a decent job with that, but compared to the book, you don't really get that sense of dread and loss that the pictures from the book itself gives you inside the film. The film itself is a bit more lighthearted than it would be if you were reading the book. And I think a lot of people went into this expecting something a little bit like Ready Player One, and this is actually this is a very dark story. To watch the movie, like I said, you don't really get the dark tones and the dark undertones that you would if you were reading the book itself. And if you read the book, you will understand completely what I mean. You can read it online if you look hard enough for it, but if you can, buy it and read it, because the pictures themselves tell an entirely different story than what we get in the film. And I think a lot of that is lost in translation from the Russo brothers. Yes, those Russo brothers from Marvel fame, that when they directed this film, I think a lot of what's in the book gets lost in translation, trying to turn it into a film. And the acting itself is very on point. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it. The voice acting, because there is a ton of voice actors in this, and they are all big names. Get a load of this action list. So you have Millie Bobby Brown, Chris Pratt, but then you have the voice acting of Woody Harrelson, Anthony Mackie, Giancarlo Esposito. You see him and he does voice acting. You have Holly Hunter. You see all these other characters. You have Kiwi Kwan, Coleman Domingo. This is a huge cast. So many wonderful names from Hollywood over the last decade or even 20 years to show up in this movie. And again, it's directed by the Russo brothers. And then they turn around and spend $320 million to basically dumb down the story and to make it more lighthearted than it needs to be. And I think that's why so many people are just poo-pooing the movie as hard as they are. So yeah, true indeed. You could look at the movie and it is a dystopian landscape as you watch it, but you don't get that feeling of melancholy that the book gives you. Like I said, a lot of the pictures in the book, they do show up in the as set pieces in the film, but you don't look at them in the same way. While I was reading the book, there's this sense of loss and dread that watching the movie, I just don't get. Overall, for me, the film is just very boring. It's not bad. It's not terrible, really, in any stretch, but overall, it's just a boring movie. It's just another film. We've seen dystopian films like this left and right for God knows how long, right? But to have this film, the way it's put together, the way it's directed, the way it's written, the way it's shown, it's just boring. And it doesn't really fit the tone of the book that it's made from. And I think that's basically just a letdown. There's so much of this film that could have been done in a different way, and I think it would have been a thousand times better. I don't think the acting is terrible, but again, I still see when you look at Millie Bobby Brown, you still see 11 from Stranger Things. You look at Chris Pratt and you see and you hear Star Lord every single time he talks. Stanley Tucci and Giancarlo Esposito, they're good in their roles, but it looks like they just showed up to get a check. Anthony Mackie, Woody Harrelson, all the voice actors, pretty much the same thing. Even Holly Hunter, God bless her. Jeff Loader even shows up in this. If you don't know who that is, look him up. Very famous guy from MTV back in the 90s. But a lot of this film just seems so out of place and so just off tone, especially compared to its source material. If you, like I said, if you get a chance to read the book, read it. I'm pretty sure you'll like it. As compared to this movie, you can just almost ignore it. Now, you can sit there and watch it, but I guarantee you're not going to watch it again. I find myself very conflicted while watching the movie and just thinking about it now. I want to hate it because, like I said, compared to the book, it is just so vastly different. To watch the film and compare it to the book, like I said, I want to hate it, but I can't. I still enjoyed it, but it's still not one of the better films that I've seen in quite a long time. Maybe it's because the tone of it doesn't fit the book that I read. Maybe it's because the acting itself, I just see other people from other roles that they've played because their acting doesn't really uplift the film any way, shape, or form. Maybe that's it, or maybe I'm just overcritical of the film. But honestly, for me, it's right down the middle. I'm conflicted on how to tell you whether to watch this movie or not. Honestly, if you do watch it, you can sit there and enjoy it, but I doubt very seriously if you'll ever watch it again. I know I am not going to ever watch this film again. I have watched it once. That's more than enough. If I ever want to revisit the story, I bought the book. I own it now. I'll just go read the book again. You never have to watch the movie again to get the story. I can just read the book. It's a 5 out of 10. I'm literally right down the middle of saying, yeah, you can sit there and enjoy it. If you thinking that this is a kid's movie, you don't. They're not going to enjoy it. They're going to be bored. I'm pretty sure most adults have watched this, or if you watch it, you're going to be bored as well. So just kind of watch it just to see what everybody's talking about and then just pass it off and move on to the next thing. I'm still wondering, where was the $320 million that Netflix spent? Again, this is the most expensive movie Netflix has ever done. And I don't know where the money went. Did it go to the cast? Because this is a huge cast. The Russo brothers, maybe. The CGI isn't bad, but it doesn't leap off of the page. It's not like the creator that spent, a quarter of this, $90 million or 89 or something like that. Didn't come anywhere near $320 million and looks infinitely better and tells a much better type of dystopian / technology film that maybe this film should have fit into the same category with, but the creator was so much better, and like I said, spent way less money. So maybe that's kind of why I don't like the film as much, because I was expecting so much more, knowing that this is the most expensive Netflix film that we have ever gotten. And that's really sad, because Netflix has done original films in the past based on other things, and they have been good. Not all of the time, but they've done enough. And you would think, when pumping this amount of money into an original film, you would have gotten something much better than what we got. But maybe not. Maybe Netflix has run its course with doing original films, and they just need to go back to being the best streaming site out there. They're still very much the best streaming site out there. Not my opinion. The numbers themselves proves that they're the most used, most watched, and most loved streaming site. So maybe they ought to just kind of stick to that and just host other things and kind of leave the original film things to everybody else, like Amazon or maybe even Disney Plus. Everything in this film that has been done before, and has been done a hell of a lot better. And honestly, I think by the time 2025 comes to an end, if not number one, this will be considered one of the absolute worst movies of 2025, which is sad, because with that amount of money and such a wonderful cast of characters, voice acting and live, I would have expected so much more. So if you're going to watch it, enjoy it once. I'm pretty sure you're never going to watch it again. But if not, Go on over to Amazon or wherever you get your books from. Look up the author Simon Stalenhag and get the book. It is a very dark but a very wonderful story to sit and read. I don't can't say that about the movie, but the book I highly recommend if you've never read it. So that's all we got for now. I want you to do me a favor before we get out of here. I want you to hit like, hit share, hit subscribe, share with everybody. Let's do everything we can do for the algorithm to grow this channel. And I truly, truly appreciate every single one of you to do it. You didn't have to, but you decided to hang out with me while I do this, and I truly appreciate it. And I'll catch you in the next video. Until then, peace.